with me today, I have the wonderful Emily Penton. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. I have been following you for a while now, and I just love everything that you put out there, and your story is incredible. Um, and it's multifaceted, with a lot of different pieces in there, but I think my audience is really going to appreciate, what you've been through, and how you have healed not just your mind, your body, all these different things. So I'm excited for you to share your story today.
Not a problem. Thanks for Karen. Thanks for wanting to hear what I have to say.
Of course. So why don't we start out, where were you at before? What were you going through?
So before eating carnivore, I had debilitating mental illness. And once I was diagnosed, probably 10 years ago, um, it's like all the pieces made sense of my whole life. So I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. We've started out on a various different medications to try and treat it. And I am so thankful for those medications because they kept me out of the psych ward and they kept me from killing myself. And that's everything. I think so many times we get into this space and we talk about, meds are bad, meds are bad. Yes, but they have a place.
Yeah.
And they really did save my life. They really did sustain me till I got to the point where I found carnivore. But I was not functioning. And it got to the point in the end of 2018 that my bipolar went into rapid cycling, where I didn't know who I was going to be each day. I didn't know if I was going to be manic or if I was going to be in bed, depressed, unable to even speak to the world. And the way that I describe my bipolar is it was kind of like a hoodie, kind of like I had this hood over me, and I couldn't feel, think, or see anything else. Like I was just completely covered up.
What? What?
I'm glad you got. No, I'm sorry. What?
Why can't I go to Nana Papa?
As I started eating carnivore, I started eating steaks, fatty steaks. It was just like that hood lifted and cleared, and it never returned. It never came back. I would say after about a good 2 months into eating this way, I was able to have clarity of thought. It wasn't like, everything was perfect. I was able to manage my bipolar disorder. And that's a huge difference than being controlled by your bipolar disorder. And then another aspect of my story is that I discovered whenever I started eating this way that I have multiple sclerosis. And so at one point of my healing, I couldn't walk without an assistive device. Like I literally, if I was standing and I didn't have the walker, I would fall over.
Wow.
I had delayed and slurred speech. Like if I would tell my child, go take a bath, it would come out. Take a bath. Like it was just,
Wow.
it was severe. And I have my master's in clinical counseling and I was practicing as a therapist. And so that didn't work. That
Yeah.
totally didn't work for me to have this rapid cycling bipolar disorder and multiple sclerosis. And the brain fog was intense with the MS and the and I have not had a manic or a depressive episode since April of 2019, and I have not had an MS symptom since May of 2019. So
Wow.
that's ridiculous.
That is incredible.
You don't get over bipolar disorder and you don't get
No.
over MS. But the fact that they're managed right now in my life is a miracle. And I just keep eating animal meat and animal fat.
Wow, that I still can't believe it's hard to believe your story without knowing you.
It is.
And well, now how were you eating before? So like let paint me a picture of like how you were eating before and what kind of I guess what kind of foods were you eating? And then, did you ever notice anything like that they were affecting you, or did you have digestive issues or anything like that?
Yeah, I never really knew what foods I was reacting to because I was so like in the hood that I couldn't assess anything. And I was not eating healthy. I couldn't even try to eat healthy. I couldn't even like eat vegetables. I literally drank, the cheapest wine I could get from Aldi's. It was 369, 362 a bottle. I
Wow.
would I would drink the cheapest wine I could get to numb the pain, and then I would eat cookie dough. Like I would make 2 batches of cookies, and I would eat the cookies of one batch, and then just the raw cookie dough of another batch. And then I would eat ice cream out of the carton and entire pizzas by myself. And that was common as
Wow.
what I would do on a Friday night. And I never ate keto. I never ate healthy because
Yeah.
it was just laughable. It was laughable for me to even, I didn't even try. I didn't even try to eat healthy. So whenever I did this, I went overnight from the standard American diet to 50% animal meat and 50% animal fat. And the only thing I
Wow.
did was the first day I had a tablespoon of honey. And
Mhm.
I checked in with my brother and I told him, what I ate. And he goes, why the tablespoon of honey? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And he was like, don't do that. And so I
Yeah.
just, I just didn't do it. And I kept eating fat and I was fine.
Yeah. I mean, and how did you learn about this way of eating? Like to go from just the standard American diet where you were eating, a lot of sugar, a lot of junk food, and then you're just gonna go eat just meat and fat. Like, how did you hear about this, and what instigated that?
Well, my brother is not a warm and fuzzy kind person.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and and he was kind. He sent me the first chapter, the audiobook from Amber O'Hearn's book. I think I need to remember this correctly because it changed my life. My Well Balanced Diet. And it was just the first chapter. And he sent it to me and said, I think this could help you. And because that was so out there, it was so rare that my brother did something nice and recognized my mental illness and recognized what I was going through. I listened to it and I heard her story that she has been doing this. At that point, she had been doing this for 10 years. So it's 12 years
Yeah.
now. And she resolved her bipolar disorder with eating fat and animal meat. And I figured if she could do it, that I could try, you know, and I just, it wasn't a logical decision. It was it was a knowing. It was a spiritual, like, I don't have an option. Like, this is the way. This is
Yes.
the way. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it gripped me. And it wasn't a willpower thing. It was just like, oh, this is what we're doing now. Like,
Wow.
Emily is going to end up in the psych ward or she's going to eat steak. So Emily's going to eat steak.
That is so powerful. Yes, and you know what? I found how it was for me too. I had this knowing that I just need to eat meat because I tried everything too. Mine was mostly digestive issues and autoimmune type issues. But yeah, when you just know, despite everything you're told by the mainstream media and all that, when you just know, it's just like you don't have a choice, right?
Yeah. And I think it was kind of a blessing that I didn't care what the mainstream media said, what, you
Yeah.
know, the healthy diet was, because I never tried the healthy diet, you know. I just always ate crap. But I was so desperate. I was so deep into the pit of mental illness hell that I literally would have done anything to experience even a glimpse. And then and people think, oh, well, she's still white knuckling it. And it's just, no, I literally, it was tough for, I would say 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like the momentum took over, and the animal meat and the animal fat was so satiating that it wasn't work. It wasn't difficult for me. My body just knew this is what it needed. And we just kept going.
And how long, how long did it take for you to kind of, get off your medications? Were you working with a doctor at that time, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, I recommend that everybody stay on their medications
Mm-hmm.
through the transition, and stay under care of a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. He had been with me for 8 years at that point, so it's 10 years now. And he had seen me at my worst. And what happened was I continued with him. And I mentioned it to him, but he was just like, oh, that's good that you're, eating less sugar,
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so he was, not really like negative about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just not really a thing. And so then June so I started this in February of 2019. In June of 2019, I started working full time. And I went back and I was functioning and I was doing great. And then in July, he said to me, there's light in your eyes. He was like, you are more like there's light in your eyes. Like you were more stable and more consistent than you have ever been. And the whole time that we've talked, and so he watched me, every month from February to July. And he was just like, there's a difference, like there's something going on. And then he suggested, maybe we should start tapering off. And I was like, no, like, no. This is my security blanket. Can't we just be happy that I'm functioning? And he was like, yeah, but we could just a little bit, take it down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we did. And we tapered off slowly. And my last psych med was late September of 2019. And I'm still completely psych med free. I haven't had a psych med since then, and didn't even hit a bump in the road. I definitely didn't end up in the psych ward, didn't have any suicidal ideation. But I stayed connected to him. I still see him every 3 months, and he hasn't prescribed anything for me for 2 years.
Wow, that people so much hope. Yeah, because with bipolar, it's kind of like a life sentence, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I come from a family of my grandma. She had bipolar, and my mom. And I don't really know the details of like, is it hereditary? Is it what causes this?
Yeah. I mean, I think we don't know. I think
Yeah.
we act like we know a lot,
Mhm.
but we can have studies and we can have textbooks and we can have, I have my master's in clinical counseling, but
Yeah.
we don't know where all of this comes from. But all I know is that I have to continue to eat animal meat and animal fat to keep that inflammation out of my brain, so that everything is connecting and communicating, and I'm able to function.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then there's something so healing about animal fat, because I know it from my experience too, is I had a fog, even though I was eating what I thought was a healthy, like keto diet, even like whole foods and stuff, but I still had this kind of low level inflammation of the brain kind of thing going on. So maybe that's like a key to it too, is the inflammation, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And then obviously the inflammation with the MS was, huge. So as I
Yeah.
continue to eat this way, it's just reduced the inflammation in my body and in my brain. And I'm able to function. I think that normal people probably, if they just had bipolar disorder, that they could probably reintroduce new foods and stuff.
Hmm.
But every time I've reintroduced new foods with my MS, it just like flares up. And so I'm just not willing to mess with it. Um,
Yeah. No, I
I'm
completely understand. I really think, because I've been able to reintroduce some things and I kind of listen to my body. But I do feel the best on mostly, animal-based diet. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting. Like, you have to find what works for you, what is gonna just keep you, just living your best life, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's really important because like I have clients that come to me. I don't ever start people out with what I think they should do
Yeah.
because I believe that we have a knowing inside of us and we set an experiment that we decide on together. Because I think that they know, hey, I react to broccoli. Hey, I need to have a half a cup of white rice or,
Hmm.
whatever. Like they have been in their bodies for their entire life.
Hmm.
So, they know instinctually what would be the best thing. It's just that we eat the things we know we shouldn't.
No,
That's
there's
what I hold
something to
people accountable.
that. Like I believe, are inundated with all of these, just things that interfere, like interference blockers kind of, and we do know, because once I started taking away all the things, all the plants and everything, and I got down to a basic meat-based diet, and then I started to know, like you said, I started to know, because you got to take away the sugar, you got to take away the the things that interfere.
And to realize the things that don't serve you, and that was also a mind switch for me was to recognize how valuable I am. I am so valuable and I have so much to give that it doesn't make sense to put things inside my body that don't serve it, that don't
Yes.
serve me. Because before I thought, oh, poor me, I've had a bad day. I deserve sugar.
Hmm.
Oh, poor me, I should eat this entire pizza by myself because I'm so miserable. Now I think I am such a unique creation. I am so phenomenal. I have so much to offer and so much to give. I can only put good things in my body. It does not make sense to put crap in my body at all. Mind shift to think that way instead of like I deserve. No, I deserve the best. I
Yeah.
deserve all the best animal meat and animal fat. And I do not deserve sugar. I that is crap. That is poison.
Oh yeah, I think like when we have a mind shift, and I think once we can take away all of the basically the brainwashing that's still going on. Of course, if you watch TV, there's all this brainwashing like, "Oh, you deserve." And now that I watch it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is complete,
Isn't
you
it
know?"
crazy? It's like I'm watching a show or something. Whenever I watch stuff and
Yeah.
I'm like for real?
It's
Like
propaganda, and when you can actually look back, like, sometimes it's funny, but not funny, I guess, to look back in like the fifth, kind of when it started, like in the 50s. If you look at all of the commercials, like the Coca-Cola, and it's like,
yep.
oh, you deserve this, after a long, hard day, it'll give you energy and all this stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny now to have this different brain that I can see it
Hmm.
and other people that are still in that mindset, they literally don't see it. And they think that I am a freak of
Yeah.
and I get it because I am completely different. I have a different mind than I did 2 years ago. It's three.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. We can heal our brains. And even like, it's really hard because, even just talking to my mom, was talking to my mom last night, and my dad, and they still, they have some health issues, and they're still, under this mindset that meat is bad, red meat is bad, and fat, you know. Red meat and fat, those are bad, because my doctor's telling me that, because they're in their, 60s. And it's hard to convince people, I've given up on convincing them. I'm just, trying to tell them what I know.
What I've noticed, and this has been so therapeutic for me and so healing, is that I don't speak to people who don't ask. Like
Yeah.
I just don't. And I'll give like a little bit, like if people ask, I'll tell them about, my situation or my experience.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's so draining and wasting of my energy to tell people who are not ready to listen. They're not wanting to hear. And it's hard for people that you love, like your parents. But I have been able to preserve my energy by only speaking to people who want to hear what I have to say, and letting that just multiply, and letting that be enough.
And I think we can just show people. And that's what I've kind of realized over the years. Even, with my family, at first it was like I had to eat this weird diet. My body was reacting to everything I ate almost. And this was like 7 years ago when it started. um, and then it became, they started to eat a little bit, how I was eating, taking away the carbs, and eating more meat. But I never preached that on them. I never said, "Oh, you got to eat this way." So it's been interesting to see. They've just kind of seen, how I feel, and you can just show people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious about the MS too. Like how quickly did you start having some of those symptoms that you were talking about? Where
Um,
you couldn't
well,
talk and
yeah, it was once I got the diagnosis, I was able to look back over the past, I would say I'm 42. So
uh-huh.
I would say over the past at least 8 years, and see the symptoms that I've had. So I feel like I've had MS all this time, and it just progressively got worse. And then whenever I started eating carnivore, it was like it revealed the MS, like it brought it
Yeah.
all to the surface and showed, okay, this is what's happening. And I think that's really important for people to hear, because they think I'm going to start eating this way and everything's just going to get better.
Yeah.
It gets worse
Mhm.
before it gets better sometimes. And I literally started eating this way February 24th of 2019. I was hospitalized in March 12th of 2019. So a logical
Okay.
person would say, I started eating meat and now I'm in the hospital and I can't swallow. I had acute dysphagia where I couldn't even
Wow.
swallow water. My brain was telling my throat to close up.
Oh.
And it was from the MS. And I had that knowing. I had that knowing that meat was the only way. And then as I started researching MS, I started realizing that anti-inflammatory foods were the way to go. And I was just like, I'm going to keep eating meat, animal meat and animal fat. So those symptoms showed up, like I would say 3 weeks into eating this way.
Wow.
And then so it was debilitating from March until May, where I couldn't walk. I couldn't shower. I had a shower chair. So I couldn't stand up in the shower. And I had I wish I had it here. I had this, I couldn't write. Like I have this big foam roller over a pen because I couldn't grip the pen.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't type. So it's just like I was completely disabled. Like I couldn't do anything. And it was terrifying because I really thought, okay, here we go. I'm not going to the psych ward, but I'm going to the nursing home.
Oh
Because
no.
if I start not being able to control my bladder or whatever, there's nobody to care for me. So I will end up in a nursing home. But thankfully, God had a different plan, and I just kept eating meat and animal fat, and it resolved in May of 2019.
Wow. That is incredible. Yeah, you're right. It gets better sometimes. Yeah, because that's kind of what happened with me in a lot of my issues, with digestive issues. It got really, really worse and I was feeling awful. And then all of a sudden one day I felt just amazing,
And then once you get to that spot, it's just like addictive. You're
It
just like,
is.
what? This feels so good.
I know. And then the body can heal, the body, the brain. I never, I've had these digestive issues for years, and I thought I was eating the perfect diet for about 4 years because it seemed okay. Um, a lot of plants, and some meat, but not anything like I eat now. But then one day, all of a sudden, I was having these issues again, and so yeah, for me, the meat-based diet is the way to go. What would you say to anybody who is like in the just in the dark place with bipolar or any kind of autoimmune disease? Where should where can they start? Where can they begin to heal?
Yeah, a lot of clients that they'll come to me and they're so overwhelmed. And when you are that sick, um, what I did isn't even possible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I tell them to start where you're at, and to eat more animal meat and animal fat and eat it first. So eat the animal meat and eat the animal fat first, but still eat your crap. Eat your crap. And then as you continue to eat more and more animal meat and animal fat, you will be satiated in your butt. Because the whole reason that we crave sugar, the whole reason that we crave carbs is because we are nutrient deficient. Put in all those nutrients and all that fat, you're going to have less and less cravings. It's going to start to dwindle away, but you have to put in the animal meat and animal fat first.
Yes, yeah, that is a good approach. I know, I mean, because it's like if you can just, put in those nutrients that your body is craving and needing, then you're not going to want the crap,
Yeah. And it's going to take some time, it'll be the gradual way, but it's better than just going, I can't do this,
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people have that mentality, when they look at, that we eat like that. Oh, that's extreme. Like,
Yeah.
why are you so extreme? I mean, I agree. Let's see. Sorry, I messed something up on here.
No problem.
Okay, no. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Like, just start where you're at because it's hard for people to, I think, wrap their mind about like taking away. Like you're taking away my life here, you're taking away my
Yeah.
sugar, my
No,
carbs.
we're adding.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you do coaching, you said, right?
Yes.
And so what exactly is your coaching all about? What does that entail?
Well, I started out 2 years ago, 30 minutes sessions, and I found it to be kind of a broken model. It just didn't work because I would just pour all this information into these people for 30 minutes and they would be just stuffed, and they would go, okay, I got it. Eat meat. Okay, I got it. And then they would go out on their own and then they would fall flat on their face. And it was devastating. And so I was like, okay, what is not working and what is working? And what was working was the people who were staying connected to me. the people who were sending me a message of what they ate for that. The people who were saying, I feel this or I feel that, the people who were staying tethered to me. And they were the ones that were rocking it and knocking it out of the park. And so I, organically just wrote this 8-week system where I take people through it. Like I literally hold their hand, and like week 2 builds on week 1 and week 3 builds on week 2. And I walk them through what the transition will be like, and set some best practices of how to, protect yourself through this way of eating, in your mindset. Because it's not just about food.
Yeah.
It's about mindset. And when you put those two together and then you lock it in for 8 weeks, it's just amazing. I mean, I've had clients transform before my very eyes, and I feel like I have the greatest job in the whole world. Like I am so blessed.
That is amazing. Yes, I agree. I think you do have the greatest job.
I love it. I absolutely love
Yes.
it.
I mean, helping people. I mean, when you transform your life and you change your life in this kind of way and you see the results, you just want to kind of scream it from the rooftops and tell everybody. But of course, not a lot of people are ready to hear it. But people are coming to you that want to heal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the cool part, is that like I said before, I put all my energy into the people who come to me, the
Mm-hmm.
people who are asking. I don't worry about my aunt. I don't worry about my coworker.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I worry about them. I wish that they would hear me, or, watch an interview like this, or actually read one of my posts on Facebook instead of going, oh, that's that crazy carnivore.
Yeah.
But I pour my energy into my clients, because they're there and they're hungry and they're asking and they're open for information. And the really cool part is just seeing their results and to recognize that it's not just me. There's
Yeah.
tons of people who have found that animal meat and animal fat heals.
Yes, yes, I agree. And community is really an important piece, isn't it, in all of this?
Oh,
Because you
absolutely.
feel so like I felt so alone for so long, and it wasn't until I started Carnivore in July of 2019. And then I think you were actually one of the first kind of profiles I started following. Um,
Aw.
yeah, because I was like, okay, I know I feel good on meat when I'm eating more of that meat and fat, and other people have had the same kind of issues I have had. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. And that has been what sustained me. I mean, I was already by July, whenever I started my Instagram account, I was already just dead set on this. But to realize that there's a whole nother world, a whole nother community of people who eat this way, and have eaten this way for 10, 12, 25 years,
Yeah.
that was all I needed to just keep going, you know. And it was just and what's so cool is every carnivore that I meet, they are the kindest people. They're so kind and willing to share, what their experience is. And it's not ever this like icky cutthroat, negative energy. It's always positive. And that carnivore zen, it's so.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. But I know for me, that's amazing. Like when you feel that joy, after, for me, it happened like with salmon. Um,
Mm,
yeah, because I always kind of felt I was going through a period of time too where I was just really depressed and I didn't know why. And then I had some fatty salmon and I just felt, joy and happiness. And I was like, what is going on here?
that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Um, what else would you like to, talk about? what would you like to tell people, who are, really leery of adding more meat or fat or eating this way and are maybe afraid to?
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is to just tell people to just try it. I mean, you've tried what you're doing now. So just try it. Try for 45 days to be intentional about eating more fatty animal meat. And just do your own experiment. Just see what their response is. See how you feel. See how you eat less sugar, and just observe what happens. But I would say just start your own experiment.
Yes, yes, that's the best advice.
Yeah,
And you have a YouTube channel, right?
I
Um,
do.
your
I do.
center of brilliance, and I wanted to ask you about that. That is an amazing name, and it really stuck out to me. How did you come up with that?
Well, it started whenever I was a therapist. And I realized that children would come in to me and their parents would tell them there's this wrong with this kid and this wrong and this wrong and he does this and he does that. And then I would tell the parents, okay, thank you. You can go wait in the waiting room. And then I would bring the kid into my office and I would be like, guess what? You're not broken. You're brilliant. And the compulsion that you have to speak out in class or to be busy in your body and you can't sit still, that's actually your superpower. And that is what's going to set you apart in life. But just like, Superman, he can't just like let his powers go everywhere. We have to manage that superpower and find your center of brilliance. Because everybody has something that they're good at. Everybody has something that they, the path of least resistance, the thing that they enjoy doing, and that they just naturally are really good at. And so I find that in each one of those children, and I would point it out and be like, did you notice that you're better than all of your friends at this? And that is your center of brilliance. That's your superpower.
Oh,
And
wow.
then we would use that center of brilliance to manage the other stuff. They were not being able to sit still in class, or they were, speaking out in class, or whatever, or talking back to their parent, whatever the problem was. We didn't focus on the problem. We focused on the center of brilliance and allowed that to overpower and manage the problem. And it just worked,
That is
and
brilliant.
thanks.
No, I love that because I know I have a son who struggled so much with not being able to sit still and labeled as kind of the problem child.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kept telling him to, you are so amazingly smart, because he is. A lot of these kids just kind of have a hard time, in school and with social situations. And yeah, that is amazing to kind of focus on that.
Yeah. And so that's what I do with my clients, whenever I get a new client and I'm just like, let's talk about what you're good at. And they're like, no, I'm a mess. Like everything's horrible. I'm a wreck, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, there's something in there. Like that's my job. I'm this miner. I'm going to go and mine in you and your personality and find your center of brilliance. And then as soon as I see it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, look at this. And they're like, oh yeah, I am really good at that, and then that grows as you focus on that and it overcomes the weaknesses. And it's about what you focus on, about what you look at.
Yes. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. So, where can people find you, work with you, connect with you?
Well, unfortunately, my messages get covered up a lot on Instagram, but you can follow me on @Carnivore Minds on Instagram. But if you really want help, if you really want coaching, the best way to get a hold of me is to email me at innerclaritysystem 8weeksystem@gmail.com, because that's what I do is I help my clients. I have a system, an 8-week system that helps my clients find inner clarity. Because once you have inner clarity, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You know yourself. And so that's the best way they can get a hold of me.
That's amazing. I love that. Yes. And I will put that in the show notes and below this video as well. Well, thank you for
Awesome.
coming on, Emily. It was so amazing to talk with you today.
No problem. And I just want to thank you so much, Rosa, because you really are a light in this space. And I love the interviews that you're doing. I love that you ask the questions that people want to know. And I'm so glad to know you.
Oh, thank you so much. That makes my heart so happy.
Good.
Yeah, well, with these interviews, I'm really connecting with a lot of people, and I feel like every person I meet on here, I see the light in your eyes, and I see the healing that's been done, and it's just like I just want to share this with the world. I want people to live their best lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I thank you so much.
No problem.